Hey gang, welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Akil Stokes, and thank you for joining me for your weekly dose of trading excellence. And I guess tri-weekly dose, since the podcast comes out 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, available on all music streaming and podcasting apps, as well as YouTube. I wanted to take a second to, or I guess a few minutes, a lot of minutes today, to follow up on the most recent podcast I put out that talked a little bit about the relevance of historical data and how much does backtesting data really mean in present day due to all the different market conditions and just the differences in trading from way back when to now. To be honest with you, it's a completely different game that we're playing here. And I wanted to bring in a guest podcaster, and it's a client that I've worked with for a very long time named Naomi. Naomi is one of the clients that I'm most proud of. Don't tell her I said that. She's going to get all giggly and stuff. But I've seen her journey from the very beginning to where it's at now. And it just amazes me and inspires me and really motivates me, the amount of work that she puts into her craft. A lot of it is behind the scenes, where she'll go into this deep, dark woman cave, do all of this testing, do all this strategy development, and then every once in a while emerge from the cave with a massive amount of questions. Her questions come in spurts. It's boom, 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 boom. And it overwhelms me many times, but I always make sure to go through them because I know they're very purposeful. I know they're done with reason. There's good reason behind it, and she's going to take the proper steps after receiving my guidance. And she recently started a podcast called the Trading Journey Podcast, where she started documenting really her journey as a trader. And I think it's a wonderful podcast. I think anyone that is a newer trader or even someone that's looking to get in the trader needs to listen to it, because it's really a at present time, step-by-step documentation of what she's going through. And it's going to be pretty cool to see when it goes from the Trading Journey podcast of this struggling trader trying to make it to be consistently profitable to when she actually starts trading and things are clicking on all cylinders. It's going to be a pretty cool story to tell. But I recently listened to one of her podcasts, and it talked about backtesting, kind of the myths about backtesting. I guess she ran into some people that were some naysayers that were saying backtesting is a waste of time. So she goes back to the defined definition of what technical analysis is and how that falls into exactly what we're doing with backtesting. She also talks a little bit about how her view has changed. I don't mean view of the markets, but I guess I do mean view of the markets. Her literal view of the markets has changed as her eyes have developed and how that affects the backtesting. And then she goes on to talk about false ROIs. So calculating your return on investment the correct way. That way you can have a realistic expectation of what to look for in the market once your system and strategy are up and going. So the podcast is awesome, so I wanted to bring it in and share it with you today. By the way, if you want to talk more with Naomi, you can find her on social media. I'll throw her information in the show notes below. And of course, you can find her on the Tier 1 Trading platform. Just head over to www.tier1trading.com. If you backslash and enter the word free after that, we also have some pretty cool live workshops and webinars that you can check out. Trust me, this stuff is worth more than some of the $1,000 courses that you'll pay out there. So make sure you get in there and take advantage of the free content, and making sure you take advantage of our community as well. All right, so without further ado, let's kick into Naomi's podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer before I get into the content of this podcast, and that is, please bear in mind when you're listening that when I'm speaking about backtesting and then live trading, that I'm assuming that someone's execution live is going to be similar, more or less, to that of their backtested trade plan. If, for example, someone's overtrading or they've got other psychological issues or maybe practical issues such as that they're missing their setups all the time, that those issues are going to affect your ROI. They're going to result in your results being potentially a lot different to your backtesting. Clearly, the reason for that is due to you rather than your backtested trade plan. I view those issues as completely separate to backtesting, but I just wanted to make you clear of that before I get into this podcast of speaking about backtesting. Uncovering the reality of the learning to trade journey can be tricky in an industry filled with many myths and misconceptions. The aim of this podcast is to generate clarity over this journey through documenting the challenges and the solutions I personally experienced as I move through the process from novice to consistently profitable trader. Everyone's trading journey is unique, yet if a shared tip or trick in this podcast can shave even 1% off of your learning curve, then that will be a job well done. Hey guys, welcome back to the Trading Journey podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about backtesting, which I know is a touchy subject for some people. I want to speak about it because, of course, it's a key part of learning to trade. But secondly, there's a lot of controversy around it recently that I've noticed anyway, in terms of that it's a load of crap, that you don't need to do it, it's a waste of time. And I absolutely disagree with this viewpoint. I think you really do need to backtest. And I just want to add my view to this conversation so that people are hearing both sides. They're not just hearing that you don't need to do it. Because the reason that concerns me is that someone new to trading could hear that, therefore not backtest, and that could cost them a lot financially and psychologically further down the line. So if you do disagree, that's fine. I hope you stay. But, you know, it's all good, guys. There's always going to be a different opinion. Do you know what I mean? So, to begin with, I wanted to ask you to go and look at the definition of technical analysis on Investopedia. The reason for this is that I think when there's a lot of criticism about backtesting, the technical analysts that are saying this forget what their approach to the markets is actually rooted in. So if you go to Investopedia, you'll see that the approach of technical analysis is rooted in the idea that price patterns repeat over time, okay? You can also then, you know, look at the founding fathers of technical analysis, such as Charles Dow, William Hamilton, Robert Rea, all of whom say that, you know, the markets today aren't actually that different from 100 years ago. They're talking about the stock market, but, you know, I'm speaking generally. That is their viewpoint. And the idea of backtesting, this is the thing. If you look at the definition of technical analysis, which is what I've just said, that it's based on the idea that price patterns repeat over time, all the process of backtesting is doing is ensuring that the patterns you are identifying over time actually have a profitable edge. That is all it's doing. It is essentially just like a process of proving that your own technical analysis actually works, right? So if you're a technical analyst and you disagree with backtesting, like, to me it just doesn't make sense, because, you know, the definitions are a mirror of each other. It's the same definition. They're the exact same thing. Like, backtesting is just the process of applying technical analysis to ensure that your strategy is profitable. But anyway, in addition to that, I also think, you know, the most obvious point, other than understanding the blatant logic behind backtesting, is that successful traders who are living off of the money they make from their trading, I'm talking about Jason Greystone, Akil Stokes, Steve Burns, people at SMB, all of them say you need to be trading a system with a proven edge. How do you prove an edge? Well, the logical answer, oh my god, a towel. Oh my god, a towel just fell down. That scared the crap out of me. Okay, anyway, so maybe that was a sign for me not to do this podcast because people are going to disagree too much. Anyway, so in terms of, what was I even saying? Yeah, the way you prove an edge is to backtest something and, you know, generate your edge, create it, because when you're backtesting, you know, you're looking at different filters, you're looking at different stops and targets, you're finding your edge in the markets. And in my opinion, I only listen to people in terms of making big decisions about, you know, my trading, who are where I want to be and who are, you know, genuine, honest people where I can tell they practice what they preach. And those are the people that I just mentioned, particularly, you know, Akil and Jason, they're my coaches. And they say, of course, you need to backtest. Again, for the logic that I've kind of mentioned. other than that, I want to speak about why I think people's live trading it doesn't reflect their backtesting results. And the reason I want to speak about this is because I think a lot of, the negative views come from people's negative experience that they've had with backtesting, that their live results haven't actually reflected this, and they feel pretty angry with the situation. And I completely have empathy for these people. That's like a very shit situation. But I just want to put these points across to explain why I think that might happen. These are very logical points as well, This isn't like a topic like the Bermuda Triangle, people. It is just obvious stuff. There's no big conspiracy, okay, with backtesting that is just like this myth that people have come up with to make you spend a year doing it. It's just... Anyway, let's just get into it. So, number one, your eyes change, okay? So I, right now, am retesting France 40. You might think, why are you retesting? The reason is because when I first tested that, it was actually a couple months ago, right? It was like summer, June perhaps. I have noticed my eyes have evolved a lot over the past few months. So when I'm retesting my final rules, I want to make sure that they're giving me the results that my initial backtesting gave me. And the reason for that is that my eyes have changed. So when I started retesting France 40, I noticed that the results were actually different. And that is because my eyes have changed a bit. So anyway, so I I filtered again based on what I kind of realised from this retesting. And now when I'm retesting, the results are consistent with what I was expecting, which is great. But I think in that first year, your eyes are changing so much all the time that it means, for example, say you backtested something 6 months ago and you're now going to trade it live, you might end up getting different results because your eyes have actually changed. So therefore, you're entering setups that perhaps you wouldn't have seen in your testing, and, the other way around. So I think that could be a reason that people don't realise why their live trading is actually different from their backtesting. The second thing is, no one knows how you backtested, okay? So say I was getting, really good results in my testing, doing really crap live. It's kind of difficult for anyone to comment on anyone that's happened to because no one knows how you've backtested. I wasn't sat there, if that happened to me, no one sat here with me looking over my shoulder, checking everything I'm doing. You could be doing something wrong. You could be scrolling through the charts too quick because you want to rush, and therefore you're not actually going bar by bar and treating it like it was live. So therefore, you're missing setups, you're not doing things properly, and therefore, of course, your results are going to be different. Another thing I wanted to mention, this is based on a conversation I had with someone, and he basically said to me that, so he was, someone who kind of thinks backtesting is a load of crap, and again, because his live trading is not going well, and he basically said that he's in trades that he would never have been in his backtesting, right? And I'm just sat here, and I said this to him, like, if you were in trades live that you did not record in your backtesting, and you're wondering why the results are different, it's pretty obvious the reason why. You change the input, you're going to get a different output. Like, it's just really common sense, people. It really, really is. I don't know what else to say. It's like me, just because I go to a shop, let's say I went to Homebase, which is like a hardware store, compared to if I went to Sainsbury's, which is a supermarket, and I want milk. If I go to the hardware store, there's not going to be milk. I'm not going to come out with the same result. Just because it's a shop, it's not the same shop. Like, it's just really black and white obvious. I just don't really get it. The other thing is, and by the way, I'm not being rude to that person, but at the end of the day, it's just facts. Also, in terms of how people are calculating their results, I think is a reason that they're not getting the results from their backtesting live. So when I started looking at my results from my testing, I was calculating it incorrectly. I came out with this brilliant ROI and then eventually realised that, there's a B. You don't calculate it by taking the M balance, for example, from 2019, and working out the percentage difference between that and your start balance from 2009. You do not work out the percentage difference that way and then divide it by the number of years and think that's your average ROI. It's absolutely categorically incorrect, okay? If I did that now, I would get about, I think it was like 700% ROI per year, which is completely incorrect. And the reason it's beefed up like that so much and why people think, they're having these 1,000,000% ROIs when it's just wrong is because it's including compound interest that wouldn't be until later. So, it's assuming that in 2009, I earn a shit ton more than I did because, by 2019, my starting balance is actually like 500 grand or something due to the compound interest. So you don't calculate your ROI that way, guys. And also, if you're not actually looking into the years, so say I just took the average, like I said, which is wrong, and then thought, okay, cool, I'm positive every year, you need to look into the return on investment each year. 2009, for example, 30%, 2010, 40%, 2011, 10%. You look and check that every single year is positive, right? Then okay, my system has returned a positive ROI every single year for the past 10 years. Then you take the average of all of those years, and that is your average ROI, okay? That is what you do. Now, I think it's a very easy mistake to make, to be honest, but it's, kind of an obvious reason why people aren't getting the results live that their backtesting is telling them. So guys, I think generally, all these things combined kind of show to you why backtesting is incredibly important, but also why it's important that you go about the process correctly, because if you don't, you are going to end up, in my view, getting, these positive results in your testing, and you're not going to be getting them live. And I really do believe it's due to one of the reasons I just said, because otherwise it just doesn't add up. It's like saying 5 plus 2 is 1. It's not, it's 7. The facts just don't add up. It really doesn't. So if that was happening to me, I would look into all those reasons and kind of work it out logically what's going on. But yeah, I think it's kind of obvious. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know there's some of you that are going to be disagreeing with me, and to be quite honest, I have no interest in discussing the topic at all in terms of if you disagree. I don't need people trying to convince me that backtesting is a load of crap because I've got my view on it. And I really don't mean that in a rude way. I've had these conversations about it before and I just don't find them productive. People have difference of opinion. It's like discussing your political views with someone who is really set on their ways of, voting in the opposite direction to you. There's kind of not a whole lot you can do in conversations like that. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.